few months ago, I received a letter from my uncle, and in this letter there were some very specific instructions. It wasn't an email, it wasn't a phone call, it was a letter, and it was typed 3 pages, maybe 4 or 5 actually. It was single-spaced with very specific instructions on it. I'm not sure if you have family members that are like this or not, but they like to kind of control things. Maybe like to kind of make things a certain way because they have it that way in their own mind. And in the letter, he was very specific. He sent it to the whole family, to everybody, so that there would be no discussion about it either, with specific instructions of what he wanted to do for his 50th wedding anniversary. And it really was very beautiful. I'm somewhat humbled because what he really wanted to do with my aunt was to come here to Annunciation, to Orlando with their family, go to Disney, but more especially to come here and celebrate a Mass with our entire family who was present in town, to be able to go out to lunch with everyone afterwards. So we did that yesterday. They're here today. They're going to bring up the gifts. I don't have very much family, so it's wonderful to be able to have someone here of another Parks in the house, besides my brother, because we know he comes every so often too. We had a great lunch yesterday, and it was really nice to be able to be with the family and to be with their grandchildren. There were 9 of their grandchildren were here with us. I especially enjoyed their youngest daughter, my cousin's 3 boys. Kind of reminded me of growing up in a family of 3 boys, and they sat next to me at lunch. And they were filled with hundreds of questions, I have to tell you. One of them asked the little 4-year-old if we played football on the front lawn of the rectory. Gentlemen, I challenge you this afternoon to a game if you would like. I think it might be good recreation for us. One of them asked, what was the best thing about being a priest? I told him it was the great joy that we have in bringing healing and being a part of people's lives and being a part of many different families. He also asked if priests make money or not. I think he has big dreams coming up. He's a little businessman, entrepreneur in the making. And then he asked, his final question was, did I like hearing confessions? Told him that, well, I'm not happy that there's a lot of sin out there, but it's beautiful to be able to give forgiveness. On the way back here to the church, I was with my niece. I just have one niece. She lives in Tampa now. And she and I were chatting, and she's 22, and she said, wow, she has no other cousins. So for her, with 2 uncles who are priests, and on her mom's side, there's no cousins. So, she could be very alone in the world. And she said how nice it was just to be with other people that love us so much, that we don't see very often, but that we're able to connect on a different level. And it made me really think that family is truly such a gift. That the people that we love the most are also people that sometimes can bring us the most hurt as well. But what God's design was when He gave us the human family was something that was very, very precious. St. John Paul II wrote a lot about the family and about the beautiful gift of family and the links that there are, the way that we are bound together. And on our Holy Family grotto, just on the other side of the parking lot, it says there, right written on the wall, that the Holy Family is the beginning of countless other holy families. So I realized, wow, God really gave us something precious in the beautiful gift of bonds of relationship, whether we see people often or not. And it makes me realize, in light of our gospel today, that when we hear about the talents, we can see that not only as talents, maybe our musical talent, our athletic ability, but also it is the gifts, the blessings that God has bestowed upon us. He's given us many, my friends. And in this gospel reading, it's really rather sad because we hear about how 2 of the people, they increased what they were given. And that's what we're called upon to do. There's a very basic premise in stewardship, and that is that we receive from God with thanks, with grateful hearts. that we tend what we have been given in a responsible manner, and finally, that we return with increase to the Lord. So even with the gift of family, we can return with increase to the Lord by the gift of love, by appreciating the people in our lives who are really probably the most important people in our lives. Very sadly, the one servant, the one steward, he was not really in good light with the master. Here he thought he was going to be the smart one by burying his talent, by kind of saying, oh, I'm not going to take any risk. He should have heard the words of Christ. And John Paul often repeated it, be not afraid, to not have fear about what it is that we are sharing, how it is that we go about our lives each day. You know, the third person, he was kind of a fool, actually, and really a disgrace, because what he had been given, he did nothing with it. He buried it. And the master expected something more. My friends, God expects something more from us. God expects something more from us in the way that he has poured himself out to us. What do we do with that? What do we do with the stock, the beautiful pantry of all that the Lord has placed before us, our blessings? If we bury them, well, we're not really making good use of what the Lord has given us. I mentioned family. You know, Thanksgiving is about a week and a half away, and maybe you'll be visiting with your families. I know I'm visiting with my brothers over in Tampa at my niece's. She's not cooking, thank goodness. That's probably a good thing. And you'll be with your families, and, you know, maybe at that Thanksgiving table there might be some tension. But how can we look beyond that tension and say, Lord, every person sitting at that table is a gift from God? Maybe just for that one time, because there may be some wonderful healing that takes place on Thanksgiving Day 2014. Today, we also can celebrate the gift of material blessings. Many in our community struggle, many here in our country since recession in 2008. But the sharing that we have in our ability to give of our blessings, not only of our overage, but of our basic needs, of what we have been given, it's okay to sacrifice. Well, that also is great to share, because I'm looking here at the food that we've brought forth here today. Some may have dropped off in the parking lot, some brought inside. You know, this food is multiplied. This is an offering to God. That's why we brought it into Mass today. It's Thanksgiving time around the table of the Lord. Give it to God, because, for instance, something like a box of macaroni may be just a box of macaroni to your family, just something that you buy and give to the kids for lunch one day. But to another family, this could be multiplied. Your gift of one box of macaroni may allow a family to sit down at the table one evening and share and have fellowship. Because if they didn't have this box of macaroni, they might not have sat down for a meal. So that's our harsh reality, but a way in which our gifts, our sharing, are multiplied. It's investing in other people, people whom we may not even know and will never meet, but we give them an incredible gift. We can also think of things that God has given us outside of the family, the material things, but also the beautiful virtues, the qualities that he gives to us, such as faith, hope, and love. How do we look to perhaps take the gift of faith and say, I want to be stronger, I want to be a better believer? How do we look and say, I'm not going to be the Debbie Downer in my neighborhood, but I'm going to be the one who helps to spread the gift of hope, that there may be a better tomorrow. And certainly that gift of love. God loved each one of us so much, my friends, that he created us. I don't think we can even fathom the amount that God loves us, that he cares for each one of us, even in our darkest hours. He loves us even more in our weaknesses. because he knows that we need him. But do we take God's love and increase it? Or do we just selfishly keep it to ourselves and bury it in our own lives? So today, as we have the beautiful presence of the relic of St. John Paul II, he who really took what he was been given, a very simple life growing up and a lot of hardship, and how he multiplied his own life to be one of the greatest men of the 20th century, to be an incredible figure in our world and an inspiration to millions, to billions. How do we look, perhaps, and think today that when we appreciate what God has given to us, and I especially say this to our young people, because often as parents want to give our children everything, and we forget that maybe a little bit of need might bring out some goodness. But if we take that chance to appreciate all the Lord has done, then when we stand before him one day, he may look into the whites of our eyes, gently tap us on the shoulder, and whisper into our ears the 7 words we all long one day to hear. Very simply, well done, my good and faithful servant. He did that for St. John Paul II. One day, each one of us also may hear those words as saints in heaven. I hope so.